We are back with another edition of the Patriots Only Please podcast. As always, I'm your humble servant, Jeff C.
Mr. Soli.
Of course.
Episode
yeah.
32? Episode 32?
30, yeah, 32. And we are, not only do we love to discuss all things politics and music, of course, but we are probably the most punctual podcasters because we started right at 1:30 on the nose. So, I mean, hey, listen, we weren't even planning that. That's just how good.
I think that should be our second handle, the punctual podcasters.
The punctual podcasters. There we go.
It pops out of your boca.
We are practicing. We are mastering unconscious competence here today. So awesome. Cool.
Before we start, I want to mention that I am unauthorizingly endorsing Jake Paul's energy drink. It gives you a zap, man. I'll tell you what, I was half asleep a second ago. A few sips of this thing and I'm ready to rock. So thank you, Mr. Paul. Prime lemon lime rocks.
Feel free to send us an enormous amount of money for that.
You're a neurotropic guy.
I am.
So this thing, I think it's got that stuff built into it. 200 milligrams of caffeine, 0 sugar, 300 milligrams of electrolytes, vegan. There you go.
Love it. Great. Beautiful. All right. Well, Jake, that's your cue. Send us a big check or a big deposit. Check. Absolutely. So, yeah. Oh, my God. I mean, like so many things have happened. I mean, we were, for anybody watching, anybody who cares, we were going to do this yesterday. And you just said, let's hold off to today. And I'm kind of glad we did because, I mean, even more, we thought we had a lot to talk about yesterday, but my God, this is crazy. So we're going to try to pack it all in to one episode. So, man, everything from Trudeau's resignation announcement, the California wildfires, of course. We're in Nevada, so California is just our next door neighbor over there. The response to that, of course. And then, of course, Trump's ridiculous sentencing today, so we can go on and on. So yeah, man, I'm going to give you the floor.
Okay.
Tear it up.
And in addition to what you just said, Joe Biden continues to try and sabotage the incoming president's administration by yesterday or today making 625 million acres around the United States illegal for offshore drilling. Just to make sure that our energy costs stay nice and high, where they are now under his administration, because he's so proud of his accomplishments with Biden inflation and Bidenomics. He wants to keep that rocking. I hope Trump's able to remove that with one movement of the pen with an executive order, because of course it's drill baby drill once Trump gets in there to drive down the cost of energy. And as we said before in many other podcasts, energy costs connect to so many things in this economy. Once energy costs come down, everything else will come down. And of course, Biden put his foot in there to make that harder to do, because of course that's his role in this world right now, is just to be Trump's, pain in the ass.
Yeah, which is ridiculous because I mean,
he lost his party lost in a landslide. We said no to everything that he stands for, and he continues to pay off student loans with our tax money, send money to Ukraine, and now he's making it harder for Trump to come in and lower energy costs. Way to go, Democrats.
Yeah. I mean, and I mean that's just the starter for what we can talk about, and we will most definitely. It just from everything from selling pieces of the wall to just trying to sneak these pardons, everything they're just trying to sneak in at the last minute.
Almost 10,000 pardons so far. And by the way, aren't there still 100 hostages being held by Hamas in? What about that? Isn't that worldwide news? Why isn't the worldwide liberal far left news media talking about the fact that 100 people are being held in cages like animals since October 7th of last year by Hamas in Palestine? Why isn't that bigger news? And what's Biden doing about that? Nada.
Nope, not a thing. And I believe didn't the Ukraine get another nice deposit from
another $500 million after the $2.5 billion they got last week? They're finding money on all the couch cushions and all in the White House. They're going around the White House and finding all the little stashes of cash, I guess, and sending them Zelensky because he needs it,
Yeah, instead of sending it to the people of, North Carolina and now California, and it's just that. So I guess that brings me. It's so frustrating because we've talked about this several times. Like, what possesses people to stay in that? I mean,
I don't know.
It's so obvious. Like okay, I get it from a federal level. You're watching on TV. People are kind of detached from it. It's not necessarily in your backyard, but now, especially in California, it's in your backyard. I know people who's literally it's in their backyard. And God forbid anything, happens. And thank God, most everybody I know is safe. I grew up in California, but the leadership there is proven to be not only, inept, but in many ways complicit in what's happening. I mean, there's so many reasons why these things that are happening are occurring because of stuff that they didn't do, or maybe stuff they did do, or misplaced priorities. It's just.
Yes.
And
did you hear that Newsom also spent some of the emergency services fund they had in California? He sent some of that to Ukraine as part of an aid package. So.
Again, this begs the question: why? It's literally right there. Okay, people of California, anybody who might watch this now or watch this later, if this isn't enough of a wake-up call to go, our leaders are not only inept, but they are truly crooked and evil, and completely have misplaced their priorities. I don't know what to say to you. I mean, if you still are going to support this, I don't know what to say to you. Now, who knows? Probably most of the people I know in California won't even bother to see this. But God, I just don't understand.
Well, last thing I'll say about it, Gavin Newsom made it his priority 10 years ago to end homelessness in California. Remember that? He had a 10-year plan to get rid of homelessness, and it's quadrupled under his watch. And I think as of last year's accounting, they've lost or misplaced $20 billion that was supposed to go to the homelessness effort. They just where did it go? Where is it? Gone.
Yeah, went to somebody. Most definitely went to somebody.
A lot of people. It went to a lot of people. A lot of people with D's at the end of their names, which is another reason why they stay in power. Shame on them. Shame on the voters. Wake up. Vote for Republicans, clean up your state, get rid of the nonsense. These entrenched bureaucratic Democrats are enriching themselves at your expense. It's enough already.
Yeah.
And now your cities are on fire. Now LA and the Palisades are burning to the ground, and there's no water in the fire hydrants.
Mm-hmm. And to say nothing of how long it's going to take to even begin to rebuild, because of now, think about it. All those houses, especially in the Palisades and all those areas, those are old houses that had kind of been literally grandfathered in. To rebuild that entire area up to the current California codes with all of the new bureaucracy and all the current, it's a daily reminder that these people are inept and criminal. Yep. Absolutely. And look, for anybody who needs convincing, we have compiled a couple of short clips as examples, because look, first of all, Karen Bass, I'd like to say Karen Bass because, hey, they did all of this to save fish anyway, so we'll just call her Karen Bass. She, so I'm assuming that's how you pronounce her name. Yeah. Her first of all, apparently she wasn't even gone. She left to go to Nairobi or something like that, or take some sort of trip out of the country before all of this happened. And I believe she obviously, look, she had heard about it. I don't know how much prior notice she had, so I'm willing to admit that. But upon her return, when she was confronted by the press, this was her reaction. Or you tell me how much of a reaction this was. Check this out.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home? Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
No. They're gonna come. Ma'am, hold on 1 second.
Madam Mayor, just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
Can you take this down?
Not a single word at all. Nothing. I mean, not even your typical, just polished politician statement. Like, we'll be making a statement later. We're addressing this.
Right.
Just nothing. She looked like a deer in the headlights.
Well, two things, Jeff. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, when they were campaigning in 2020 and until the very end, barely answered questions. They answered questions when they felt like it. They would just walk off the stage. So she's taking one cue from Biden and Kamala Harris, A, and B. It seems like someone that behaves that way kind of knows they're not going to lose their gig, right? She kind of knows she can't lose her job, right? Because if you show that kind of disdain and that unwillingness to say anything at all, don't you feel kind of like, well, I'm not gonna lose. They're gonna vote me back in.
Well, yeah. Once again, it's that sense of entitlement. It's the people of Los Angeles. This is your leadership.
Yep. Nothing to say.
I mean, literally nothing to say. And this is not us pontificating and being, Nazi right-wing extremists. That is your mayor that you voted for.
Yep.
That has nothing to say to you.
Could care less. She was in
and
Ghana.
Knows that she'll have a job for the next 4 years. I mean, we'll see what the fallout is, but I don't know. Now, not to be outdone, she outdoes herself the very next day when she finally did do provide a press conference. Take a look at this. I mean, I'm sure that the citizens thought that this was extremely helpful and really, helped get them situated. Take a look at this.
Okay.
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this. Through the heroism of our firefighters, the vigilance of Angelenos, and the spirit of our city.
All of that can be found at URL. Do you understand? URL is the internet. That's like saying, all of this can be found out there somewhere.
Yep.
There's assistance. We're prepared. We're ready to help and assist, and it's out there somewhere. These people, I mean, look, this goes far beyond just job incompetence and just the fact that they're just evil and complicit in this. These are dumb people, stupid people. Yep. The internet is 30-something years old now. Most everybody. Hey, sorry, I love you like a sister. You're not the most technically inclined person in the world, but you know what a URL is. You know what I mean? My God.
And my question is, why didn't someone stop her and say, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt, but we need to give the people the official website that you're referring to. I'm sorry to disrupt your speech. I know what you're saying is important, but URL is not giving them any information. Could you please restate the correct website clearly so citizens have a way to find help? Thank you, Madam Mayor. But you know what? People are afraid. The people around her are afraid to lose their jobs. So they just stand there looking like deer in the headlights going, she didn't actually tell them anything. Yeah. Wow. Well, let's get some lunch, I guess, and move on.
This is what
happens when one party runs an entire state. This is what happens when one party is entrenched so deeply, they know they're going to win, and they control everything. there's no accountability. And shame on the voters. I know there's Republicans in California. I know Trump turned a lot of districts red that had not been red for a long time.
Sure.
That needs to continue through the midterms and through the next presidential cycle. We need to get these Democrats out. I mean, we've had Ronald Reagan was the governor there a long time ago. It can happen again, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. We've had Republican governors.
You can vote these people out. Please consider it. If you're from California, Los Angeles, LA County, just think about what's happening to your lives right now and their response to it, which is, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I can't help but wonder what would possess somebody to vote for that, just to keep voting for that again. It's now that it's literally in your backyard. And hey, and I'll go back, not to be outdone, but that was the response from the city and state officials, but even the mayor, but even all the way up into the federal government. I mean, this was the not even so much the reaction, but the statement or whatever from our current sitting president,
our current lame duck, senile, useless career politician, more than half a century of corruption, 10,000 pardons. Can't wait to get rid of him, Joe Biden.
Yeah, our current resident of the White House, who hopefully will thankfully be evicted here in a week. So take a look at this.
We got this notification yesterday that their home is about to burn down. Today, the parents are maybe still standing, I'm not sure. But the good news is, I'm a great-grandfather as of today. I have a granddaughter, a baby girl, a baby boy. So I remember this day for about long research.
Look at that. I mean, another useless Democrat. My goodness, there's so many of them. He's the main one. He's the biggest one, right?
Well, not only you couldn't understand what the hell he was saying. I understand there was there's fires and acres, but the good news is I'm a great grandfather. I mean, who gives a shit?
Nobody.
The Los Angeles is burning down, and your big announcement is that you're a great grandfather, and people clap for that.
Well, when it took him 3 weeks to go to Maui. I'm sorry. When it took him 3 weeks to go to Hawaii to visit the people whose homes had been destroyed there, 3 weeks to show up. He fell asleep at the ceremony. A and B. When they woke him up and it was his time to talk, do you remember what he said? These people lost their homes. They lost everything. There were still 1,000 children missing. He was giving this speech after he fell asleep during the ceremony. And when his time to speak, he talked about the fact that one time 20 years ago in one of his houses, the stove almost caught on fire and his house almost burned down.
Yeah.
That was important to tell these people. This guy is a laughing stock. He never belonged on the world stage. Every single Democrat out there watching this should be ashamed of themselves for voting for this guy. Kamala Harris was his surrogate, equally incompetent and useless. Enough is enough. Goodbye. C'est la vie. Get lost. Get out. Shame on all of them. Yeah.
It really leaves you almost speechless.
By the way, this person who was just bumbling and mumbling and then said the word grandpa is who the fake news has been defending and campaigning for 24/7. Please keep that in mind, folks. Please remember what and whom they've been defending all this time. They want that. They prefer that over Donald Trump. An incompetent, incomprehensible, mumbling puppet.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Well, thankfully, the country had the good sense to evict this administration, and thankfully,
Kamala.
And Kamala. So hopefully, things are looking bright. But now our neighbors to the north, they were quiet. They were just as self-aware. I mean, apparently, they're just as unhappy with their sitting prime minister as we are with our sitting president. So, but at least their prime minister had the good sense to at least resign, or for whatever reason.
Could we at least hope that Angelenos and Californians in general could follow Canada's example and kick out these incompetent, leftist, woke losers? Please, look to the north and follow their example, Californians. Please. Sorry, Jeff. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm just
no. I couldn't agree more. They you know, I think. I mean, again, it's there's a lot of pockets, especially where I grew up in California, that like more central California, where they tend to be a little more conservative. So there's definitely pockets. It's a very big state. You know, everybody seems to think that everyone in California is some, you know, lefty, which is not necessarily the case at all. No. But in the more heavily populated areas like LA, Southern California, up north, San Francisco, you know, those places, there obviously there's a large concentration of, you know, Democrat leaning people and politicians. And so that's how the state has been run for decades. Now, granted, we have had some periods where they have had Republican governors, Reagan, Schwarzenegger, you know, for what it was worth. Right. But the fact is that so LA, you know, Southern California, those areas, like the coastal areas, never really felt like we were, they didn't really represent those of us who lived more inland and in the central part of the state. Sure. And because oftentimes it's like, oh, well, we're just so far removed from it. But now it's literally burning down their homes. Yep. These are the policies that are literally contributing to burning down your homes. So it's not some you know, Uncle Jed Clampett in you know, Bakersfield somewhere that you don't have to worry about, or up in Fresno. This isn't the Palisades. Right. So, you know, and nobody does. I don't care who you are, how rich you are, whatever. I'm not saying they deserve it. They don't deserve it.
No.
But hopefully, if nothing else comes from this, is that they go, I can't keep doing this.
Well, listen, the fire hydrants have no water in them. That was a choice. Not clearing away the brush in an arid, dry area like LA, like LA County. It's basically a desert, right?
Yeah.
I mean, other parts of the world have deserts. They don't have these kinds of crazy wildfires because they clear the brush and they maintain it so that when a lightning strikes a tree in the middle of an empty desert land, it has nowhere to spread. It goes into the sand and it dies. Mm-hmm. You don't do that in California. And I believe we have a slide coming up where Trump predicts this happening. Wait, let's not forget, this has been happening in California for over 100 years.
Yeah.
This is not a new weather phenomenon. This is not climate change.
No.
If anyone throws that word out, shame on them.
Yeah.
This is just a fact of life of being, we're in the desert. We're in Nevada. It's all desert here. We clear the brush. If you visit Las Vegas, visit Carson City, we make sure that areas that are empty are cleared away so that when lightning hits, like Mount Charleston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a scenic route around Mount Charleston where they allow lightning to hit trees because that's a natural way to clear away other dead trees. But then they stop it so that the fire stops. It doesn't continue to burn all the way down to Las Vegas. There are ways to manage this stuff. California knows that, and they chose not to. The Democrats who run the state and LA County chose not to.
Yeah.
This is bad policy, bad bureaucrating, bad politicking, and shame on all of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's that's it right there. That's it. I mean, and yeah, absolutely. Trump called this again. Trump was right about something else as well. I mean, listen to this, folks of California. Check this out.
And you have so much water, and all those fields that are right now barren, the farmers would have all the water they needed. And you could revert water up into the hills where you have all the dead forests, where the forests are so brittle. Because no place is like California. I go to Austria. The head of Austria tells me, we have trees that are much more flammable than what you have in California. We never have forest fires because they maintain their forests. And you have all that water that could be used as water, what they call water flow, where where the land would be damp. And you'd stop many of these horrible fires that are costing billions and billions of dollars by the federal government, etc. So one thing I'm going to do for California, vote for me, California. I'm going to give you safety. I'm going to give you a great border. And I'm going to give you more water than almost anybody has. And the farmers up north are going to be able to use 100% of their land, not 1% of their land.
And ironically, as he's in the background, surrounded by water, they're right on the coast there. It's really, again, it's mind-boggling. It's kind of heartbreaking to see. all the destruction, the devastation, and needlessly. It doesn't have to be that way.
Folks, President Biden and Kamala Harris have found almost $300 billion to send to Ukraine to fight a war we know they can't win against the second biggest superpower in the history of history, but no money for anything else, no money for Americans. And it's
sorry, Hawaii. Sorry, North Carolina. Sorry, California.
Yeah, sorry. This election was a referendum on Democrats in general and in particular, and they lost on both levels, as they should have, and they should continue to lose. I hope the Democrats don't get back into power for a generation. That's 20 years, by the way, because they don't deserve it. They don't deserve your vote. They don't deserve your confidence. They don't deserve your trust. Shame on all of them. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, kind of focusing up to our neighbors to the north.
Yes.
I mean, so this what's been called the Trump effect. It's obviously rippling out to other countries. I mean, it seems like hopefully there's other countries that are waking up to this and just kind of getting sick of politics as usual. Canada, again, very traditionally very liberal, and they're living in the results of their policies right now. And it looks like they're going to be, Trudeau has made the announcement that he intends to resign once they pick another leader for his party. And then hopefully Pierre Poilievre will be able to get in. If anybody who is unfamiliar with the Canadian politics, we don't really know too much about it ourselves, but we do know Trudeau and Poilievre. And Poilievre, you sent me a great video it's kind of long. We didn't have time to, but there's some great stuff that you can, if you're leaning towards the conservative movement and are interested in Canadian politics, he could very well end up being the next prime minister. Which
can I sum it up very quickly?
Yeah, please.
Trudeau's father was the Prime Minister of Canada, equally terrible, but his son Justin really put the icing on the cake. He's been in power for 10 years. For the first 4 years of his 10-year tenure, he had a full mandate. He controlled the entire government, and it's been whittling down for the last 6 years. Now he's at a 22% approval rating, and here's why. And see if this sounds familiar to American ears. There's an affordability crisis in Canada. There's a housing crisis. There's an immigration crisis. Trudeau has implemented his own version of the Green New Deal, which has cost average Canadians 40% of their incomes in the last 6 years. The first English Commonwealth Western country to compel speech. Trudeau, if you misgender somebody in Canada, it's considered a hate crime, enforceable by law. That's more important than making sure the GDP to the debt ratio stays in check. They don't care. This guy needed to lose 5 years ago, and average Canadians have had enough. And the reason he's resigning is if it goes to an election, he's going to get destroyed. He knows that he wants to leave a little bit of dignity before his party ends up polling in the single digits, which is going to happen, and it should happen. And again, shame on them. Far left woke nonsense has brought Canada to its knees economically.
Yeah,
I mean, this Poilievre would ask Trudeau questions on the floor of their parliament, like, how much debt did we accrue last year? And Trudeau would talk about how proud he is to be Canada first and doing a great job of making sure Canadians have a great life. He's like, Prime Minister, how much debt did we accrue last year in Canada? Please ask your finance minister. No idea. They had no answers, just platitudes. And the Canadians have had enough, like Americans. So people are speaking up. They're voting according to they're standing up for their principles, for the quality of their own lives. And enough of these far left bureaucrats destroying everything in the name of some utopia that doesn't exist.
Well, look, I don't even give them that much credit. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily in the name of a utopia. That's what they say it is, but at the end of the day, it's all just going to line their own pockets.
Of course, it's corruption. I mean, this company. I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but so Trudeau is sum it up. Trudeau has been the Joe Biden of Canada for the last decade, and it took Canadians this long to kick him out, and thank God they figured it out and did that.
Yeah. So, hey, I'll have a reason to go back and visit my, Canadian in-laws. My wife is Canadian. So there we go. The good news is she leans in our direction because she thinks everything that's going on up there is ridiculous as well.
Well, maybe because she has common sense. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah, and speaking of a Canadian with common sense, we have a lot of Canadian people doing business here. I don't know if the audience realizes this, but almost 80-90% of the entertainers that you love and watch in movies, most of them are Canadian. So a very prominent Canadian, Kevin O'Leary, otherwise known as Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank fame.
Yes.
He had, a couple of choice words about Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and this is coming from a very successful Canadian American who is quite savvy in business. So I don't know. Let's check out what he has to say about it.
Here's what's going to happen. You basically got 60 days. You get a leader in place. They're going to suspend Parliament to allow this process to happen. And then they're going to get decimated by the Conservative Party so badly that they may not even be the official opposition. Right now, the polls are unbelievable. They could change, obviously, but they don't have enough seats yet to actually be they may only end up with 2 to 4 seats in Ontario. I mean, the legacy of Justin Trudeau lives on. He destroyed the country. He destroyed his party. I mean, everything this guy touches turns to poo-poo. Everything he touches. And so, sure, these are harsh words. They're all factual. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Does it sound familiar, Americans? Does it sound a little bit like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris over the last 4 years? They've destroyed the country. They've destroyed our legacy worldwide. An endless war in Ukraine. What's going on in Israel? Why aren't we talking? Are we helping Israel? What's happening in Israel? Is Iran still allowed to support terrorism around the world? What's happening with that? We're more focused on Joe Biden's being a grandfather. I mean, it's ridiculous. Where's the legacy media? There's 100 people that have been locked in cages since October 7th of last year, including 6 Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that news?
Well, the legacy media is too busy covering Trump's sentencing today as well. Yeah. I mean, again, that's another topical story just that happened in the last day. Trump is today. Was sentenced for this apparently, writing in the wrong ledger. Yeah.
So Trump was charged with 34 felonies, 34 improper bookkeeping entries. Instead of writing the word legal expenses, his bookkeeper or CPA wrote in miscellaneous expenses that were actually for legal expenses. That's the felonies. That's what and the judge, Judge Merchan, the person who was placed there, who wasn't even supposed to be the judge for that case, by the way, imposed a unconditional discharge, meaning no probation, no charges, no time, and nothing. It's just on the record that he's a felon.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, you're such a dangerous felon that you're not going to be charged, or rather, you're not going to be, you're going
to walk free.
Yeah, no penalty, no financial penalty, nothing. So, what exactly was the crime that was committed?
It was a bookkeeping error. See, do you think if they put the Clinton Foundation under the same microscope that Trump just went through, they wouldn't find one bookkeeping error?
Something tells me they would find a lot more than 34 bookkeeping errors in their ledger. Absolutely.
Isn't it fascinating that Bill and Hillary Clinton have been public servants and operated a charity for 40 years, and they're worth over $100 million? How is that possible? We know what their salaries are. They're public record. Even if they wrote some books, that doesn't tally up to their net worth. Yeah. No one looks into this stuff, but they do for Trump. Over 34 bookkeeping errors. Those are the felonies, guys.
Yeah. So that is what our mainstream media is choosing to cover. Or at least, a lot of the mainstream media on the left. But yeah, there's been a little attention to this, obviously, on the right as well. In fact, there's been a few statements that have come out. This is a short clip of what was happening a little earlier today outside of the courthouse.
Donald Trump, I thought, gave a pretty effective statement where he said, quite simply, I was indicted because my accountant labeled legal expenses, and that's why I'm here. He said this person could have labeled them concrete or electrical or anything like that. They didn't. They were legal expenses because they were payments to a lawyer. They were logged as such, and now I've been indicted. He also talked about Michael Cohen. He said how he was a disbarred attorney, but yet he was allowed to speak as if he was George Washington. He pointed out from the screen that he was speaking from, he saw into the courtroom and he could see Matthew Colangelo, who used to be a top senior official at the Biden Department of Justice, who left that spot, took a pretty big career downgrade to go join Alvin Bragg and prosecute Donald Trump. He pointed him out and said, this is evidence that the Department of Justice was involved. That was his perspective. And then he said, and I thought this was a very effective line, he said, speaking to Judge Marchand, he said, people watched the trial in your courtroom and the people voted decisively. I won all 7 swing states. And, as he was saying that, I was thinking about, as I walked into the courtroom, that the only protesters, per se, who were here were...
Yeah. So the people, everybody knows what a sham this is. This again, if you're not going to sentence him with anything, or he's going to completely walk free with no fines, no nothing. Obviously, look, he's the incoming president, so how much can you do? But all of this, it just proves that this was all bullshit from the beginning. Yep. But the good news is now there's an interesting thing. I don't know if you have seen, there was a great post by Dr. Phil. Yeah. What were you thinking? Mr. Dr. Phil himself. And he had a pretty interesting take on this. I'm going to share this. This is directly coming from X, but check this out. Okay. 1 second. Can we present? Here we go. Dr. Phil on X. Dr. Phil's on X. Oh my God.
If there are, please give us a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it.
So check this out. I mean, if you can see this, I don't know if you can see,
I can see it.
So it shows here, in less than 2 weeks, Donald Trump will take the oath of becoming America's 47th president, but in less than 24 hours, he posted this yesterday, before the pundits on the far left start gloating, he'll be a convicted felon, but before the pundits on the far left start gloating, and the ones on the far right start raging, let me put everything in perspective and explain this weird ruling, because the headlines don't tell half the story. New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan, a name everyone in the civilized world knows, convicted President-elect Donald Trump of 34 felonies concerning the legal conduct of paying hush money. He'll explain what says legal conduct. Justice Merchan announced that tomorrow, January 10th, he will not put Trump in jail, on probation, or even fine him. Neither will he dismiss the trumped-up case, if there ever was a pun justified. He will instead impose a sentence of unconditional discharge. What exactly is unconditional discharge? Here in the New York law, the relevant part, when the court imposes a sentence of unconditional discharge, the defendant shall be released with respect to the conviction for which the sentence is imposed without imprisonment, fine, or probation supervision. A sentence of unconditional discharge is, for all purposes, a final judgment of conviction. So, yeah, to your point, basically, they're just going to, revel in the fact that, now he's a convicted felon. But convicted of what? For bookkeeping errors, like you said. Yep. Now, the way this could work in Trump's favor, so from what he says here, obviously, look, you can appeal this. So it may turn out, let's see. I don't mean to brag. I'm not earning my career best lawyers. Here's what they tell me. He goes free, but because he's been convicted, he can appeal, and most legal experts believe he will do so successfully, of course. Sure. I certainly do not believe Judge Merchan is intending to help Trump. If he dismissed the case, it might feel like a tacit admission that the case was much ado about nothing. After all, judges don't like to admit mistakes. So basically it all comes down to the judge and the system being able to save face and be able to say, we got Trump.
Yeah, I know, but again, once again, this is a blue state like California, blue to the core. And instead of in California taking care of emergency services, and New York, instead of taking care of the immigration crisis, which the Mayor Eric Adams has been publicly begging Joe Biden for 2 years to help with. Nothing's being done. The people are flowing in there like water every day. The city's drowning in debt. They're losing their tax base because people that have any kind of money are leaving because of the immigration crisis, the crime crisis, the affordability crisis. Those things get put on hold so they can put Trump on trial and say, you're a bad guy. It's on record. Go free and be a great president. Thanks a lot for coming.
Yeah, exactly.
This is how they're spending their time. Again, New York Democrats, what are you thinking? What are you doing? This is what they're doing with your money and their time.
Mm-hmm. People are getting set on fire in the subway, and you guys are still focusing on a witch hunt that should have never happened in the first place. And now this witch hunt is resulting anyway in the complete dismissal, or not dismissal, but unconditional discharge of without penalty.
Yep.
So again, much ado about nothing, all bullshit. It's just insanity.
Well, and the thing is, this Judge Merchan now, his name is now, he'll sell the rights to his book. He'll sell the rights to his life to Hollywood and make $1 zillion. So you get rewarded on the left for attacking Trump for any reason, even if it's baseless like this. And again, people are voting for these people. Stop doing that, please, voters. Please start voting vote for common sense. Vote. Come on. It's just it's at a certain point you start to lose your train of thought because it's so rampant. I mean, the current sitting president has done nothing for 4 years except he called people that support Trump garbage. He called people that support Trump garbage, fascists. I mean, name calling, lawfare, terrible governance, affordability crisis, housing crisis, immigration crisis, open borders, endless wars. That's the Democrat Party today.
Mm-hmm.
You want that?
Yeah, and now the people, the majority of the people in a state who most likely obviously voted for Kamala and voted for the Democrats and keep these people in there. That their response to you today is thank you and screw you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They don't care. They're not showing any. You showed loyalty to them. You showed up every election. You've kept them in power. You've kept them in their jobs and their cushy, government jobs.
With pensions for life.
With pensions for life.
They don't have Obamacare, by the way, guys. Anyone listening to this podcast? They don't have Obamacare. They've got Cadillac health insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, as your homes are burning down, I'm going to be a great grandfather.
Yeah.
Go to URL.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just, I don't know. So look, I hate to end on a sour note because we've been going on this for a long time. But again, we've got, which as of right now, today of this taping, it's the 10th. We got 9 days, right? The 19th, the 20th. So we're at the home stretch of, the end of this. But my God, I mean, it took Justin Trudeau 9 years, 10 years to ruin Canada. God, it's taken Joe Biden. It's going to take him 2 weeks to ruin America. It's just, it's like he's doing everything he can to put the final nail in the coffin. But look, I mean, Trump will go in regardless. Again, the most important, the biggest mission, keep the man safe, keep his cabinet safe. Once he gets in, thankfully, the confirmation the certification on the 6th went smoothly.
Yep.
Thank you. That was another beautiful thing to watch. Man, I regret that I didn't grab a clip of that. But anybody who watches this most definitely has seen the clip of Kamala certifying her own defeat. Which, look, I'm going to take the wins where they come. I drank that in. I watched that a few times and just enjoyed every second of that. So
it's called karma. Kamala got her karma.
Karma Kamala. Didn't the Culture Club had a song about that, right?
We're showing our age.
Didn't Boy George sing about Karma Kamala?
I
love that song.
I want to plug Jake Paul's energy drink one more time. Prime, fantastic. Check it out. Pick one up. I feel incredible right now. I feel like 2 short guys instead of just one. I feel like I've doubled my own short stature drinking this energy drink.
Yes, a can of that, and you too will be able to kick Mike Tyson's ass.
What a boring fight that was! Oh my God!
Oh God, yeah, that's a podcast for another day. Yeah,
a great podcast. We covered a lot of ground today. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Please like, follow, share, subscribe.
Yes. Oh my God, that's. I mean, how terrible of me. Please, check us out at patriotsonlyplease.com. As you know, that's kind of our hub for all of our other platforms. And as I always say, if you're not into the website thing, you can always just kind of stay on your social media platform of choice, and like, subscribe, and follow us at Patriots Only, please. Although, except for Twitter, X, Twitter, whatever you're calling it, it's Patriots Only Pulls, PLS, whatever. Well, I'll put up a thing for that next week. But yeah, go find us. But if you do want to know where we're going to be and what we're going to do next, if you're at all interested, we don't even know what we're going to do next. But if you want to be just as confused as we are, go to patriotsonlyplease.com and sign up for our mailing list, and we'll tell you when these episodes are going to drop and just kind of give you our random thoughts about stuff. And you never know, maybe when we get famous enough, we might have some stuff for you to buy.
It's going to happen this year.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen 2025. So the future looks bright. We're getting a new president, a new administration. Just keep them alive. Just keep them safe. And yeah, and the future looks bright.
Can't wait for Biden to go, man. Really, I'm holding my breath. I just want this guy out of there so badly, and I want these wars to end and the borders to close up in America. And I want a president that's proud to say openly, America first is okay. It's okay to want to take care of your own house first before you take care of the rest of the world.
1,000%.
It's okay to believe that. It's okay to live that way, guys. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, on that note, we will see you on the next one. Keep on trumping, as you do say. Bye for now, folks.